Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I am Phil Beck with the Professional Painter and Decorator on YouTube, and I don't want to say, am I the only fully qualified painter and decorator on YouTube? I don't know. I think there's a couple of other people, but clearly with Advanced Craft City and Guilds, I feel I am fully qualified to actually talk about paint and explain a few things to you about the painting and decorating industry. So yeah, that said, we're tongue-in-cheek joking, but I'm here today to talk about Little Greene paint. You've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title underneath, and I'm going to give a big shout out to Amy, who's my local rep for the Bradite Company. Bradite Company are quite a biggish company when it comes to paints underneath it. It has got Little Greene, it has got the, you might have seen on a video or coming up, the paint and paper library paint as well. Now Amy I met at the Brewers event up in Mansfield back in June, which seems a long while ago now. Now she said to me, Phil, have you tried any of the paint and paper library paint? I went, no. She says, have you tried any Little Greene? I says, well, yeah, but a long while ago. And she goes, what I'll do, I'll send you some sample tins out so you can have a try on stuff like this. So I'm going to say straight away, there's no sponsorship, there's no money changed hands. It is just what I've always said. Over the years, we always get paint reps that say, do you want to try something? And I'm no different. The beauty is now I'm on YouTube, I can actually give my first thoughts to a paint, give you my honest opinion, and I'm not an ambassador for anybody. I'm not endorsing anybody. There's nobody paying me to say how good something is, and that's why I'll give you an honest review on what my thoughts are as a professional painter and decorator with 35 years in the trade, Advanced Craft City and Guilds qualified. I've also done the City and Guilds 7310 whatever, 773 whatever, teacher trainer. I've forgotten, it's that long ago now, because I did teach MVQs back in the day and was an MVQ assessor. Oh, I can't remember any of that. So yeah, right, let's get on with it. Right, so Amy sent me some tins of paint. They're only small tins, litre tins. She sent me eggshell, intelligent eggshell. She sent me intelligent satin and intelligent gloss. They will be on future videos. We're going to be talking about the intelligent eggshell today. Expect this to be around about a 10 to 20% sheen level. If you're wanting a little bit more sheen, I would expect around about 40% will be on the satin. And I think water-based gloss, particularly on the Little Greene, will be around about that 80 to 85%. We will see when we come to that video. But what do I want to tell you about this? Drying time, expect touch dry within about 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm going to say to you, gauging off what other paints are, 4 hours to 6 hours for recoat time. The longer you can leave it, the better. And in between coats, you can actually do a little bit of a nibbing down. So if it's left a bit longer, it is nice to nib down if there is any flies or anything that's fell on the surface. Right, also, Little Greene, back in the day, and I'm going back quite a number of years ago, used to do oil-based paints as well as water-based paints. I believe, did Amy at the show mention that there is Tom's oil paint that's still available. I've not tried any oil-based paints from Little Greene for a long while. Tom's oil I've never come across. I am 99.9% water-based painter and decorator now. So we are trying this Little Greene paint, water-based. Your brushes wash out in water. But what's interesting about this, that Little Greene have moved on from predominantly oil-based paints. This water-based paint is a 2-in-1. So it is your undercoat and finish all in one. It will be your primer as well. It will go over surfaces in 2 coats. So where a lot of water-based paints are a primer stroke undercoat and then 2 top coats over the top, this is more of an MSP paint that you will get away with 2 coats. If you are going over a vast change of colour, if you're going from black to white, I would say you'll need an extra coat. So you can always use this as your undercoat and then put 2 more top coats over the top. Just use your common sense, use your common sense. If you've got bare surfaces, now you could probably just get a little bit of this paint out, thin it down with a little bit of water and coat your bare areas up with some thinned down version of your paint that you're using, whether it be the eggshell, whether it be the satin, whether it be the gloss. That will soak into the surface, that will take out that porosity, it will bind anything. If you've got stuff like MDF that is very much something that can pop up on you and go furry. Same with woods. If you put a thin down paint over a wooden surface that's bare, it can pop the grain. Once that's dry, once that paint on that surface is dry, you can actually give it a bit of a nib down and then go with another coat of this and then your top coat over the top. But again, use your common sense. If you feel you need another coat, give it another coat. With this being quick drying, it's dry within like that hour, and we'll recoat in 4 hours. You shouldn't be any problem getting 2 coats on in a day. So what I also want to say is just be mindful when you are mixing paints up, mix up with a proper mixing stick. Don't use a cane, don't use something, a cylindrical item, because some paints go quite heavy and they actually settle on the bottom. You want to mix it, you want to get it off the bottom. It might be a little bit of paint on the sides. Give it a good stir up. Don't think that just shaking it like that is enough, because if a paint's been on the side, all the heavier pigments and the bits that go into the paint will have settled to the bottom and the oils and the resins go to the top. So you need to give that a good mix with a mixing stick. That is actually a Little Greene mixing stick, by the way. So right, without further ado, Pew, Barnum, McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble and Grub, I'm going to get this paint out. I don't know what the colour is. Etruria. I'm totally dyslexic. Right, E-T-R-U-R-I-A. Can you see that? Can you pronounce that for me? The number is 326. Intelligent Eggshell. Now, Intelligent Eggshells, the paint that is a little bit more durable. I always liked the Intelligent range of the Little Greene paints. I always found they were that little bit better quality. But this is Intelligent Eggshell. I'm Phil Beckwith and I'm going to get some paint going now. Right, I've got the paint out. I'm using the X-Series Maverick brush. I'm trying to trial these out at the moment. I've good results so far for applying paint onto a door. They're a oval bristle brush. This is a 2-inch. Finding it very nice. The difference between this and the Series S, the bristles are a little bit firmer. They're not so soft. Feel like I can cut in a lot easier with this. So liking that. Right, colour wise, you can you see what that is? Bit of a, well, what do we call that? It's a tealy green, not sure what you'd call it. Right, let's get in with the door. If you don't know, you paint your mouldings first, then you go to your panel. You do that all the way around. Mouldings, panels, then you come to doing your munting rails, then your top rail, mid rails, lot rails, and then you come to the stiles on the side. So that's the correct way of painting a door. The idea is you keep a wet edge going and you're not going to get a dried off wet edge when you're bringing the door down. Hence why you do the mouldings and the panels first. You take any fatty edge off the edges there. That then dries. You're not going to be touching those again. It gives you a fresh, you'll get the idea. If you want to know about painting a door, you'll see it on multiple videos that I've got on my channel. So I'm going to start on this left hand side. Hope you can see me. I'm going to be telling you what this paint's like. Now, as I said, I'm expecting a lot with the opacity going over black, but we like to push things to the limit. I'm still bedding my brush in, still bedding it in. Just so far it feels quite nice to apply. Having recently done the video for the paint and paper library of the eggshell, it feels very similar. I would probably say opacity is probably a little bit thinner. So i.e. the paint and paper library paint is probably got a little bit more guts to it. I don't know. It might be because I'm going over a black door compared to me going over more of a, was it white or something before? I can't remember. So far, not too bad. Let's do the next one. Application wise, it's not too bad. Be interesting to see what it dries like. See what I'm doing? I'm now laying off the mouldings and going straight up on the panels. You don't have to be too critical when you're doing the first coat because you'll get a better coat on the second time round, but so far not too bad. I'll come back this side, I hope you can see it a bit better. Brush is applying the paint really nicely, so we've got no problems there. Now, I don't want to say it feels slimy. I don't think the word's slimy. I think the issue I've probably got is going over something that's a rub down. This black was a proper satin finish. So the brush is probably slipping over that surface, just feeling a little bit unusual to me. Secret with water-based paints is don't play about with it. Don't do what you do if you were doing oil, crow's nesting it, then laying it off horizontally, I'm exaggerating, and then going with your tips of your bristles to lay off. That is if you were doing oil-based paints. When you're working with water-based paints like this, get it on as quick as you can. It's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to run, it's not going to creep. I'll say that, some paints do. Not mention any brands, but just get it on. Don't overload your brush. You see what I'm doing? I'm just getting these mouldings coated because I'm going to come back to those once I get my panel coated out. So they're the mouldings just quickly applied. I'm now crow's nesting. That's going every direction possible to get coverage, i.e. covering the area. Once I've got it crow's nested, that's not going to move anywhere. I'm going to start laying off with the tips of the bristles. I'm not putting any more paint on. Tips of the bristles, and that's laid it off nicely. Now I'm just quickly going around the side. It's not gone off on me too quickly, and I can finish off like that. So be as quick as you possibly can when you apply your paint. Right, I'm going to finish the door, let it dry. I'll give you a bit of a summing up what it looks like when it's all dry. We'll get a second coat on, then we'll look at it at the very end. So see you in about 5 or 6 hours time. I'm coming back quite quickly after coating that door up because sometimes I feel I've got to just get some information out. Application of that, I'm questioning whether it's the surface I'm going over because it was still, even though it rubbed down really well, I don't know whether the surface isn't doing the paint justice. Application wise, it's gone on fine, but it does feel a little bit of a waxy feel to me actually applying it. So don't know whether that's, got to sniff the bristle, I don't know whether that's the paint having that intelligent element to it, that there's something in it that makes it feel a bit, not sticky, but a little bit waxier. Don't think it's slipping and sliding like you're going over something that's like, I'm looking over in my corner, I've got a piece of UPVC sheet. It's not like I was painting over UPVC and it's sliding. It went on that door all right, rubbed down, but there's just something about it that just didn't feel as easy to apply. And I don't know whether that's where I'm seeing the grinniness of the opacity of the paint because I'm using black. If I'd used white, would I have got, do you know what, I'll probably try this out in future with a white door. But that to me doesn't seem as nice to apply as what that paint and paper library paint was that I did recently, but you've probably seen it some of the stage. And I'll just come to this because I've been doing tiles as well. That paint and paper library, That is one coat on there, and when I applied it onto that tile, and these will be scratch tested sometime, these paints aren't designed for scratch testing, but I just want to see what they like when they go on a flat gloss surface. Now that paint and paper library paint, Eggshell again, is really flat as a pancake. I'm not seeing any brush marks in it, whereas this is just still drying. There is a little bit of a brush marky to it. Let me just, yeah, I can feel a little bit of a brush mark to that with the Intelligent Eggshell. Now, this is only one coat. I will tape it and do 2 coats, but knowing what that one was, and you can see they're both a colour, that has actually laid a lot flatter on the tile than that. But application wise, I think that, from my memory of doing it recently, I think that went on a bit easier compared to the Little Greene. But the proof's in the pudding when we get the second coat on. Just also to say, in case I missed it, this can be applied by a brush. You can actually use a roller, and if you want to spray it, you can do. And application wise, it is your usual MSP sort of paint. It does go over most surfaces. I'll use the term loosely most, because when I say your woodwork, your trim, if you're in America, it will go over that. It will go over bare surfaces. It will do going over metal. If you are using it straight onto bare metal, I would actually get the correct bare metal primer before you start going on with these sorts of finishes. But you will be able to paint your radiators if you're in the UK and you've got powder coated radiators. Give them a rub down, and you can actually coat your radiators up as well. So it will go on a multitude of surfaces. It's just at this moment in time, I think Doris the door probably got the wrong sort of paint on it. I don't know. It's let's see. Let's pass judgment at the end. Welcome back, my lovelies. Now I'm going to put my hand up. I'm going to be honest. I didn't wait 4 hours for that to dry. I came back after doing other jobs. It had got a bit of a blower heater on, and I came in and felt that door and I thought that's good to go, and I'm going to try it. Now I always say to people, give it the 4 hours if not longer, but I haven't, and really a bit of an experiment, see what it's like. Now opacity wise, it is a lot better than that first coat over the black. Now I taped up an area just there to see, so I could remind myself what it was like going over that black. It was very grinny. It was literally the opacity, I'd say I'd have expected a bit better opacity coverage, that I wouldn't actually see those brush marks showing a bit of the black grinning through. But second coat, it's actually gone on a lot better. Now, without going with a microscope and looking for little corners and edges where it might still be a bit grinny, a little bit there and a little bit there, I don't think that's bad at all. It's a funny colour. Going over black, I would possibly say you're best for 3 coats anyway, just in case. This has been no exception. I know it's a 2-in-1 product, that it's an undercoat and a top coat, but just to get that peace of mind of getting that total obliteration stroke coverage with that opacity, I would say a 3rd coat won't go amiss. That said, if anybody, Amy's going to watch this, I would like to try Little Greene Eggshell, Intelligent Eggshell in a white, in a light colour. I like to try whites out because that is the telltale sign of how good a paint is, because we really struggle, decorators really struggle with whites and opacity, even going over off-white colours. So I would like to be true to myself of trying whites like I do with other paints and not a colour. Reverting to this colour, going over the black, I would have expected it to have gone for 2, but I'm not surprised that it could just benefit from a 3rd coat. So that's that out the way. My next thing I'm going to mention, now I've referred back to my last video on the paint and paper library, which was the eggshell, and something I mentioned on there was how a paint flows out and whether you see brush marks and whether you see a little bit of flashing and laying back off into where you've got your munting rails from your cross rails and stiles. Now that paint and paint library paint, which was that pinky lilac, I don't know what it is because, you know, I've got it on the other side of the door, so it's a good reference to me. I was impressed with that paint because it did flow out and it didn't show any brush marks. This Intelligent Eggshell from Little Greene, I am noticing an element of brush mark to it. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I know Farrow and Ball have got a thing with brush marks because in America everybody sprays everything, and when we were down at Farrow and Ball nearly 10 years ago, they mentioned about the ropiness of paint, i.e. the brush marks that was showing when you hand finish something, and that was a characteristic of their paint because in America they quite like to see a brush mark effect over everybody who does the spraying. So looking at this Little Greene, there is an element I can see brush marks, and bear in mind this door was nicely sanded down with 80 and then 120 and probably a little bit finer used pad, so I've got a flat surface. Do I see any flashing? It's minimal. I can just see a little bit of where a bristle has caught that munting rail and it is just showing up. But you know what, if you stood back, I notice it. Whether anybody else would, I'm not too sure. But I would say it doesn't flow out as good as its sister paint. I'll call it a sister paint, the Paint and Paper Library. Not saying it's a nice paint, I'm just giving you my honest opinion. The touch, the feel of that eggshell, I would say it is on that 10 to 20% sheen level. It doesn't look dry, it's not a flat finish. There is a little bit of a gritty element to it. It's not like a bag of sand's gone over it. After the first coat, I did feel it feeling a little bit rough, not gritty, rough, just a little bit, not so smooth. I'm feeling the side of the door because that's the Paint and Paper Library paint. It's probably got a little bit of a gritty texture to it. Don't think I'm thinking it's got a bag of sand over it. It's not like that, but it is a drier, little bit of a textured, dry finish. Now on the first coat I thought it had got it, so I did nib down because I did a panel and I thought, oh, is it because there's a bit of dust in there? I did nib down and dust off. Nibbing down has made no difference. It's still got that same feel to it, so that is obviously the paint. Whether it could benefit from milling a little bit more to be a little bit smoother, I'd say it's not quite as smooth as I thought it possibly would be. But finish wise, I do like the finish. Eggshell, it has got something to it to give it a little bit of life. I'm not that keen on flat finishes. They've got the place, but I do like to see that you have put some paint on and you see something to it. But what do I think? I would say I'm not quite as blown away as I probably was to be surprised about the Paint and Library paint. I think this actually went on better and flowed out better. I know I didn't wait the 4 hours plus, so there might be a little bit of an element too. I have brush marks because it softened up the paint underneath. You know what softened up? When you go over a paint and it's probably not dried properly, you do get an element that the paint pulls when you're putting it on. Was it drying too quick on me when I put it on? I'm not too sure. It applied nicely. It would possibly make me wonder whether the brush is suitable. I know that brush was lovely doing the other paint, that lilac on the other side, so I don't think there's any issues with actually applying the paint to this door. What I am noticing more so is I am seeing it's a little bit more brush marking than I thought it would be. I thought it might flow out a little bit better. But all in all, not a too bad a paint. I'll be interested to see what the satin's like. But as a paint goes, that you can get it onto a surface that's been previously painted, I think it's a good characteristic. I know there's talk that some properties that are in the Bradite 1 can are in this as well. Whether that's to make it one of these multi-surface paint that goes over multiple surfaces, I'm not sure. I don't know what's in it, but I'm a big fan of the 1 can from Bradite. This has probably got that grip element to it to go over surfaces like what I've gone over. But I'm just a little bit disappointed about the brush marking. It might be a case that I probably should have let it dry a bit longer. I'm not sure. But if you're a decorator, you go back into a room probably after dinner and go, well, that woodwork's dry. I might as well get my second coat on. And that's what I've done here. I've thought to myself, that's dry and we can paint it. Anything else I need to say? The brush washed out fine. No problem washing the brush out. That's a good sign of a good paint if you can wash the brush out. Clearly it's not a hybrid. There's not that oil element, that slight oil element into it that it kills your brushes. But all in all, if I gave it out of 10, I'd probably say 7.5. I've put worse paints on, but I have put better paints on. But I'm not saying if you are using Little Greene, it's not a bad paint. It's just I'm being very critical to give you the information of what I'm thinking of this paint. But watch the videos at the side. It all helps the channel progress and grow with the algorithm. And also, please give us a like, give us the thumbs up if you've not already done so. Those that are subscribed, thank you very much. Those that are giving me super thanks, fantastic. Those that are buying me a coffee, it's much appreciated. Watch those next to me. Helps the channel grow. Thank you.